the new administration in Washington would not have allowed this deal to happen. And I know this because, nobody knew what was going to happen last November when there was an election. But as soon as the election was decided and Mr. Trump had prevailed, they accelerated the timeline for the settlement to get it done before he was sworn in. And they did that because they knew that that administration would not have picked elk over people, would not have picked these environmental causes over historic dairy operations, and would have found a way.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Starkey Farmstead. So, after getting back from Waco, Texas yesterday, it was immediately jump back into life. So, I showed you guys last night what the liberal left is claiming now. That the United States is going to deport, wait for it, American citizens, when really the fight is over the 14th Amendment and birthright citizenship. Today I want to talk about something that is even more disturbing. The true issue is what Joe Biden's government did behind closed doors. So let me tell you what happened. The federal government would invite nonprofits to sue them so that they could come up with a settlement that made the environmentalists happy, but was actually against what that department, whether it was the forestry department, whether it was the land management people, or the EPA. They invited radical environmentalists to sue the federal government so that they could settle in court or outside of court, giving those people exactly what they wanted.
And they should have, based on the study, they said it's fine for ranchers to be there. So they should have kept the ranches there. But in the meantime, they had the environmentalists sue them. Do you think they worked together?
That's my theory, that they worked together. And, the author who I forwarded that article to you believes that this is a pattern that started some time ago under a former administration where it was kind of inviting people to sue and then enter into secret settlement agreements and accomplish things in those lawsuits that you could not accomplish.
Because it would not be popular.
Not just not popular.
It would not be legal.
Not legal. You can't change. The National Park Service was precluded under the law from doing anything different than what their record of decision said should be done. That's the law. They've done the opposite of what their record of decision said. And they published a new record of decision that wiped out the old one and said, we don't need to have ranching anymore.
Fight going on in Point Reyes. They just shut down a dozen farms, just like that. It's a fight that was going on for the last 8 years, really doubled down on those farmers 2 years ago, and they put a gag order on them. So they couldn't even ask the community to stand up for them.
So they went out they shut them down, meaning they
done.
Can't even have cows or anything?
They've got to move off the property. They've been there for over 100 years. Those dairies started in 1857. And a lot of the same families have been there the whole time. Our local RCD even came up with money to upgrade the ranches if needed. And the environmental group said no thanks. They wanted to take the land over. And so they forced these farmers to sign an agreement that are pushing them all out. So we're going to lose half of our dairies in Marin County and a bunch of the beef ranches that provide local food.
So I know it sounds crazy, but you're going to need to watch this entire video. Folks, we were demonetized for speaking out about the propaganda and the hypocrisy of the left. YouTube tagged my videos as harmful, and I need your support. It doesn't matter if you send $1, $100, whatever you feel led by the Lord to do. Please look in the top of comments, row with us so I can continue educating the world of what's really happening. So under the Biden administration, an entire county in California had multiple dairy, pork, pig, turkey, chicken, geese, cattle, the whole 9 yards, 100-year farms devastated. Working with the parks, land, all of that, you guys, a nonprofit, radical left lunatic environmentalists got together, found a way, a workaround the law. Now you fast forward to 2025, we have already seen the Trump administration step in and save a farm in South Dakota. A lot of people are praying that the Trump administration is going to step in and stop what's happening in California in Marin County over these farms that were illegally gagged with a gag order. I believe once he becomes aware of it, so I need you to share this video, he will put a stop to it. But the propaganda against President Trump and J.D. Vance where farms are concerned, it's mind-blowing. So the rest of this video, I'm going to show you what people in the world who aren't farming, who have no idea of what's going on, are being told that our president is doing to the farm industry. So lately I've been noticing all over TikTok, all over Instagram, Trump's destroying farms. Family farms are losing everything.
My FYP right now is flooded with crying farmers. Crying farmers who voted for Trump and are now seeing the effects of his disastrous tariff policy. They cannot afford to keep their farms going. They are in jeopardy of losing everything. And I'm so frustrated. We voted for you. Why didn't you vote for you?
Because of the Trump administration and their tariffs. Now, if you understand tariffs, then you understand that at first it's going to be a little uncomfortable as negotiations and tariffs are adjusted and applied appropriately and fairly. There are farmers who, okay, let's just go ahead and debate this. I don't believe you're a farmer if you have a monocrop farm of soybean that humans don't ingest. If you're growing a monocrop of food on 500 acres just to export it to China, in my opinion, and it's a humble one, you are not a farmer. That is not what people envision when they think of farming, okay? First off, you're using America's land, America's air, America's water to create a crop that is not going to benefit the American people. So I'm sorry, I don't believe you, soybean farmers, are actually farmers. You're creators, I'll give you that. And you grow something that you export, now you're throwing a temper tantrum because you aren't becoming rich off your exports. But the same thing's happening with wheat farmers, okay? So these are people who have monocrops of wheat, hundreds of acres in wheat production. That's it, that's all they grow. There's no cows, there's really no employees. They have machines that do everything. So they have family farms, that's what they call themselves, that grow wheat. They export this wheat to China and other countries. It doesn't stay here in America, right? And they're having a fit because they say the tariffs are destroying their family farms.
Lifelong Republicans, and we were so happy to vote for Trump in all three of his elections. However, we were certainly not aware that he was going to put a funding freeze on all USAID. 100% of our wheat produce is bought by USAID and shipped out of the country. So our farm is completely bankrupt. We have no customer. We had this whole deal with the US government, and now that is just gone in a second. And we are completely decimated. USAID buys about $2 billion worth of American farmers' goods annually, and every single one of those farms is in the same boat as us now. It's a sinking boat. He didn't consider us at all when he made these decisions, and it would be impossible for any world leader to do something that could negatively affect us more than what Trump has done to us. And we voted for him.
Now, then I'm hearing farmers say they're taking all the illegal aliens, so we don't have any employees.
News out of Nebraska today, apparently our entire state is going to go bankrupt in 2 quarters. Me and my husband owned a cattle ranch here, and I can confirm that all of the cattle ranchers here overwhelmingly voted for Trump. We support him. We voted for him. Something like 70% of our entire workforce is undocumented immigrants, and they straight up are not showing up for work anymore. They have all either fled the country, fled the state. They don't want to get raided while at work, so they have just moved on.
California's citrus harvest is in trouble. There just aren't enough workers. Farmers across the state are struggling because immigration crackdowns have scared off much of the workforce. In some areas, harvest crews have dropped from 30 workers to just 5.
Again, not sure how you claim to be an American farmer when your entire workforce are illegal aliens, and you're upset that you now have to pay a living wage to someone to work on your farm. That's almost insulting to people like me who work 2 acres by herself. So if one person can care for 2 acres by themselves day in, day out, surely you can get a couple of people to come and harvest from your local community on the acres that you have planted. But they don't see it that way, folks. Then, the worst thing for me are just the continual lies about how people who were getting loans are now not getting their loans, and they're going to lose their farms.
Fast forward to this week, I'm sure you've seen the story of the Missouri farmer, the young guy who was at risk of losing his farm because the grant that he was going to receive to reimburse him for all these expenses he had been cut. Well, look, they've also cut U.S. aid, which gave farmers millions and millions of dollars because they would buy their crops and then send them overseas or send them, places here in the United States to help people in need. But it also helped the farmers. Well, I found out today that there is a website called Acre Trader. Acre Trader is a company that heavily invests in agricultural land. So you can go invest in these farms that are failing, that somehow they're just starting to fail, and you can just buy them up. Well, guess who heavily funded Acre Trader? JD fucking Vance. Do you think they're out here just destroying these small farms so they can buy them up, all these tech bros? Kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it?
So Acre Trader, what he's talking about with JD Vance, that is a bunch of baloney. Acre Trader is to give growing farms capital. Instead of going to a bank and financing your land, which is ignorant, right? Your land is what brings in your money. You never put your land on the dotted line. So what JD Vance and some other investors did was start something called Acre Trader, where if you need capital, you can actually open it up to investors and they invest in what you're growing. It's not for failing farms. I'm sure some failing farms have probably used it to save their farm. It's not to gobble up your land. It is to be able to bring in money when you need it without having to go to a bank. But I think what bothers me most, you guys, is the propaganda. It is the undertones that somehow Trump and JD Vance are what is causing all these farms to fail.
The economy is the worst it has been since the farm crisis of 1980, when the U.S. lost 1 in every 4 farms. And that's because the price we're paying for the crop we produce is so low, and the cost to produce that crop is so high that not a single commodity crop in Arkansas is profitable for farmers. Because agriculture is such an important economic driver in the United States, and because food production is a national security issue, the government steps in tough times to help farmers. Yesterday, I watched strangers pull away my tillage equipment. They drove my tractors away, my combines. They loaded my power units and my fuel tanks onto trailers. Today, as I stand here, people are picking up the very last pieces of 6 generations of farming. And the people that we elected to protect us are eating in a ballroom with $7,000 a plate.
Yes, cutting off U.S. aid probably, and I'm sure it did, hurt a few farmers. But let me make this point to you very clearly. Why are you growing food to sell out of country? If you're an American farmer, why are you not finding a way, creating a pathway for your food to go into local schools or to local stores? This is what I hate about tariffs and imports. They import the cheapest, nastiest stuff. And then we have these beautiful farms, beautiful food that gets exported at pennies. So our farmers are always broke. But it's better than what they'd get in the American market because we can't compete with slave labor from outside the country. That's just my opinion, folks. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I just watched this lady on TikTok who shut down a 6th generation wheat, soybean, corn farm. Why? Because, now, of course, if you look at the title of it, it's going to say Trump's policies are destroying farms. That's not true. Arkansas's payback for commodity crops does not match the cost to grow the food. In other words, if I've got 1,000 pounds of wheat and it costs me $30,000 to grow that wheat, but you only pay me $25,000 for that wheat, I'm now at a loss. It's that simple. And that's what's happening across the country. Individual states don't pay commodity prices that actually keep farmers above water. That is another reason why I never want to be involved in commodities. I don't want to be involved in insurance through the USDA because the federal government is not your flippin' mama. Farms used to work off the sweat of the employees and the owners. The farms stayed above water because we physically worked hard. But now they have convinced farmers, I told y'all this in 1,000 videos from a couple of years ago, get big or get out.
In 5 to 10 years, a lot of farmland is going to be sold. We're actively losing our land to foreign nationals everywhere. If I was from India, I could go form an LLC and I could buy a piece of property in the United States under an LLC name and it would be perfectly legal. That should be disturbing because whoever controls the food controls the people. Whoever's controlling the food will eventually control you. Grandparents had huge farms. They raised food on those farms. They fed people. They fed communities, they fed states, they fed nations. Everybody wants to get littler and littler and littler when our grandparents wanted more. Please, if your family owns a farm, if your family owns land, do not sell the land.
That was the motto after the Great Depression, get big or get out. And what they did was push out all small and medium farms and consolidated into 1,000-acre farms. Let me tell you something. This is the future of farming. Small acreage homesteads. So don't let news like this depress you. Let it give you the chance to get your foot into your local market. I've taken a 1/4-acre market garden right here and I produce thousands of pounds of food, not just for humans, for my small livestock. Therefore, taking me out of the need to buy feed, folks. You can do it, but it takes hard work. And we have too many Americans that want everything right now. They want it right now. So thanks for watching, guys. For the ones of you who made it all the way to the end, please like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you are subscribed. YouTube is on an unsubscribe campaign again. It gets old. And please, if you'd like to support us, look in the top of comments. Love you guys.